Our Orcust outbreak continues. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. Now, this week's next play actually is very, very Orcust heavy. This is the best way to say this here. So starting things off here on participation, we had 7 Orcust duelists entering into the room. Like, it's so amazing to see that 2 cards could change an entire fundamental way a deck is just chosen to be played. And like, I am still just completely baffled by how much this has allowed this deck to stick around in the meta and do its thing. But hey, you know what? It just proves that Konami can fix decks. Just 2 cards was all it took. And then we have Rizaol down here, still doing its thing as per usual. I mean, EX was a real major loss, and I'm still kind of feeling it in my heart, but you know, that's fine. And then, of course, we had 4 Malice. So the new deck build decks are still sticking around out here. They're still doing exactly what they need to be doing out here while pressuring the meta. Now, I do see that we have White Forest down here as well. We had 4 of those in participation, which is kind of interesting. I can tell that the OCG loves White Forest as well. We've also had 3 Momento challengers as well. Keep in mind that with the way that Momento is kind of working right now in Japan, like, the deck is actually a very, very scary creature when it actually gets off the ground and does its thing. And then we have 2 Chimera Illusion decks. That's also not exactly something I thought I would see. We also have 2 Gem Knight decks as well. Keep in mind that Gem Knight has actually kind of evolved past playing Block Dragon at this point in time, which is kind of a scary thought, because that means that the TCG could have Gem Knights being a little bit more of a viable strategy once time kind of shifts into that point. But we will have to wait and see. Now, the one-ofs here. So we had somebody playing Fallen of Albaz, good stuff. Not all that surprised to see that. We have a Hero Duelist. I'm glad to see that. That's actually pretty freaking cool. It also appears we had 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon. Of course, I mean, Blue Eyes typically shows up for most of these events, and is usually a massive powerhouse. It also appears that we had a Mermail player, which we'll get more back to that once we get into Top Cut. Sengenjin, the Exodia Turbo. We had 1 OSS deck. It appears that we also had 1 Alistair the Invoker. We had 1 Abyss Shark Turbo. I'm not really sure what this other one is next to Purely, but you have a pretty good overall representation. Now, shifting on into your top 8 here. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Well, this is a top 7. I don't know why Next Play loves doing these. I believe that they probably just look at all the X ones and they're like, all right, cool, chalk them on up and let's go through this, because it's what, 5 rounds of Swiss? Maybe all the X2s making it into. But in terms of your most represented deck in your top cut, guess what? It's still Orcust. You know, we still lost 5 Orcust in the conversion, though, which is a lot to be thinking about out here. We also have 1 Rizaol and 1 Malice, so the challengers from the deck build set are still here, as they should be. I'm glad to see that, you know, Japan figured out that even with Rizaol EX limited to 1, you know, this deck is still very much able to do its thing. It was, you know, just a little bit of a setback in terms of things. We had 1 of our Gem Knight duelists make it into Top Cut. We also have Momento, and we also have our Mermail duelist. Now, unfortunately, I do not have the Mermail list for you, as they unfortunately died in the terrible, tragic accident that was the round before we make it into top 4 to get those deck lists posted. But I mean, looking at this though, like, this format looks genuinely fair and exciting and interesting. But the Orcust takeover, this is what happens when you ban Abyss Dweller. Like, Orcust just gasses itself so far up, it's actually kind of crazy. Let's pass on over to deck list. So we are starting things off here with our winning Orcust list, and you know, it's kind of cool just to know that, you know, any normal summoned Orcust monster just kind of starts full combo. That's why this deck is kind of deemed so scary out here, and especially for this being a Link era deck. You know, okay, you can debarrier it, I guess. And then, you know, oh no, my Dingreesus can't resolve, but, you know, it doesn't stop me from OTK lining you into the ground. Now, in terms of cool things in here, we are playing the Crown as the extender, which has been a little bit more needed, I feel like. We're also playing the World Legacy Succession in here. I don't know how I feel about that either. Triple Harp, Triple Symbol Skeleton, no Brass Bombard, poor guy, and never going to see play again. And of course, triple of the big Orcust Nightmare. Grisu is going to be your best starter that you could ever hope to want to see. One Crescendo. Of course, the big thing with Crescendo is you can Foolish Barrel it down, banish it, get it started, and then you can, Elon Grisu back to the hand. So you have your way to get to the trap. They kind of completed the functional cycle on how to get to it, which was basically what the deck needed. And of course, down here in the side deck, you do see the ever so fair and amazing Scythe. Yeah, the OCG. Don't look at the side deck. Don't. All right, it's it is very, very toxic for what it is. But I understand that for whatever reason that the OCG just chose to leave these options alone. All right, well, moving on along out here, we have some Rizaol for you today. I see that 7th Tachyon has just been, seeing less and less play in this deck. Even though, I guess because you've bumped up 7th Ascension, you're still going to just choose to play it, which is fine. I also see that we are going with the Shark package in here to get, the deck going. And it's actually kind of cool because basically the supplemental package is the reason why I feel like this deck has been finding success. It just kind of depends on, what extra flavor of Rank 4 can I pull out of my butt here and toss things. Do I want to play the Aratamasaki Tama, or are we going to go with the Shark stuff here? What's going to get things going? I also do see that we are citing the Lancia Searcher down there. Good old, I forgot what it is, C102 or whatever it is. Searches for the Lancia to punish the opponent. Double Twins of the Eclipse, which about to be a standard here in the TCG. Also keep in mind that there's no Donner in these lists, even though we're choosing to play the one Nibiru. The one Nibiru is usually for the cross out. And hey, look, sorry, don't look at the side deck again. There's just Scythe and Sanctum Locks down there all day long. I also see that we are citing 2 Perulio, 1 Nihilus. Okay. I think that's going to be a little bit more of a scenario that we might see in the TCG. Meowls will be a 1 of, and then Perulio kind of turn into like a 2 of down here in the side deck. You're kind of just bringing it in the scenarios that you do need to see it just to get you going. And then we have some Gem Knights for you here. Now, the cool thing about Gem Knights, like I said, you kind of strip out the Block Dragon stuff. You no longer need it. And then, of course, you do what every other deck in the in this meta is doing. You just go ahead and you put in Fiendsmith cards, and you're off to the races, because Fiendsmith cards are such a supplemental package at this point in time. Like, it's so crazy just to see what you're able to do with this. And, of course, we're only doing 1 Gem Knight fusion, 1 Brilliant fusion. I mean, that's all you need to do, right? You get the pieces going, and congratulations, the Megazord just rolls on together. In terms of your board that you're making, you do see that we have the very famous Apollosa down here, the very, very standard stuff. Just the fact that for the weeks here that we've had Gem Knights evolving, and the fact that you've been seeing this deck just not even relying on Block Dragon now, I really like that. I'm glad to see that, Block Dragon was kind of viewed as this hindrance piece along the way that kind of felt like it stopped this deck from reaching its full potential. And then you kind of look at this current build, you're like, okay, we got the best of all the worlds out here. There's a little bit of exceptions to the rules that I really wish that we could do, but that's fine. I also see down here we are doing in the side deck Titano Setter, no Scythe locking down here. We're actually being some civil people, and of course I see the Lancias, and of course a red reboot. I too don't like losing to back row. Ho ho ho! And our last list here is actually Momento. No Goblin Cage. Yet again, the OCG has evolved beyond using the Goblin Cage to, basically e-tele you out and do their thing. They're just like, hey, this is all we have to do. We roll this on up, having the Artemis to turbo up the SP and go. I also do see here, dare I say, this build is not playing Apollosa. This build has evolved beyond it. Holy crap. I also see we have the Underworld Goddess down here, the Selene Lina lines to climb up here. Double Tack Talents in the main deck, double Call by the Grave as per usual. I don't really see anything too out of left field this list. Like, this is almost adaptable towards the TCG if you were looking for something to want to play minus, the max Cs. But, that's just kind of the little extra that kind of comes with this. So, in terms of the OCG meta, things are looking okay. I'm happy to actually say that. I'm glad to say that, as we look at these results each and every week, that things are actually looking kind of good. And I like that. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. And I will see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.